In tonight's Government Insider, medical errors at the VA. A new report shows the number of mistakes are up at their facilities, but the agency is doing less to find out how the incidents happened. Why? For insight, we turn to our guest tonight on Capitol Insider, Deborah Draper, Director of Healthcare Issues with the Government Accountability Office. Deborah, VA medical centers use a system called root cause analysis, or RCA, to figure out what caused these errors to happen in the first place. What does that process involve?
Well, VA medical centers use a number of processes to examine adverse events. And unlike processes that examine individual providers' contribution to adverse events, root cause analysis really looks at systems and processes that either contributed or caused the actual adverse event. And let me just back up a little bit. Adverse event is an incident that poses a risk of injury or harm to a patient, and it may, due to a medical intervention or the lack of a medical intervention. And it's things such as, for example, a delayed or a misdiagnosis which causes harm to a patient would be such an incident. So the root cause analysis itself involves the identification of these systems and processes that may contribute or cause the adverse event. It involves analysis of the information. Usually what comes out of a root cause analysis are recommendations to make improvements, and then another part of the process is implementing those recommended changes and then monitoring to make sure that they have the intended effect.
Okay, I follow you on that, but now a new report by the GAO has found that the number of RCAs has plunged 18% from 2010 to 2014, but the number of medical errors has grown by 7%. What's going on here? Are the incidents that aren't being reviewed less severe, for example?
Well, it's really hard to know because VA has not analyzed why the number of root causes has decreased over that period of time. Now, what happens is that when an adverse event occurs, that it is scored on a scoring system of 1 to 3, with 3 being the most severe. So root cause analysis are required to be conducted on all adverse events with a score of 3. And medical centers have the discretion to conduct root cause analysis on those with scores of 1 or 2. Their VA requires a minimum number of 8 RCAs per facility each year.
Now, is there a process in place, Deborah, to review less severe incidents, or is it up to the staff at the medical facility?
Well, as I said, they scored the adverse events based on the severity of the incident. And part of the root cause process is to really look at system-wide issues that related to systems and processes where VA can take corrective action system-wide to reduce or mitigate the risk of patient harm or injury. And I can give you a couple of examples. One example is through the root cause analysis process, they found that some of the adverse events were occurring in surgery related to poor communication on the surgical team. So in response to that, VA implemented a curriculum, a communication curriculum for surgery teams that they found very effective, and it has resulted in reduced number of adverse events, and they're looking at expanding that to other areas of the hospital, like the emergency department and intensive care units. So all the information is really critical.
Yeah, well, it is. I don't want to hear surgery and poor communication in the same sentence. Now, as with most things in government, a lot of this is about the optics. While some of the medical errors may not be severe, they still need to be addressed. What recommendations did you and the GAO make to the VA?
Well, we made 2 recommendations. One is that VA needs to analyze the reason for the decrease in the root cause analyses. And, you know, part of that, they provided some suggestions as to why some of the contributing factors. One was that there's a possible change in the culture of safety across VA medical centers, where staff may be more reluctant to come forward with patient safety issues because of the publicity that VA has received in the past couple of years. Another is that some VA medical centers may be using processes other than the root cause analysis to investigate these root cause analysis. But the problem with that is that information, VA doesn't know the extent to which that is occurring, and that information is lacking in the overall aggregated data. So there's a lot of misinformation that if you have that information, it provides a lot, it's more informative. Another recommendation we made, as I mentioned, is to understand what facilities that may be using alternative processes to the root cause analyses and make sure that that information is being collected so that there's a complete set of data to really conduct the analysis.
Keep up the great work and oversight. Deborah Draper, Director of Healthcare Issues at the GAO. Thanks again.